Okay, this is September the 5th, 2011, and we're in the Galleria L in Elblag in Poland, and we're talking to Pam Aitken, who is sitting in front of her artwork. So welcome to Elblag, Pam.
Thanks, Mark.
Can we start off by talking about this fantastic high work you've got here, how you arrived at it?
Yes, well, I've never shown in such a very tall place before, and because it had this history of being a church before the 1960s when it became a gallery, I wanted to make some sort of connection to its history. So I really liked the height of the space, so I wanted to make something tall, and also wanted to work with the light, because the light through the windows in these spaces are quite amazing. At the same time, I wanted to make something very contemporary and modern, and so I thought about all these things and chose the colour blue in the end because a lot of the old windows have this beautiful blue as well. And so it's like, it's a contemporary take on a very old idea, I think. I don't know, I think that's what it is. Originally the idea was to have two drops, one behind the other, and the second one with black squares. But when we were installing the work, I decided it was a bit too much, and so installation is a lot like that. You have this idea in the end of what you think it's going to be, but it's not until you actually install it that you decide or make your decisions on yes or no, this or that. So so that's actually how it came to be here. Just thinking of those historical things particularly.
And so the wonderful thing about it too is the blue, the way the blue relates to the walls, and the way the blue transitions from a reddish blue to a greenish blue.
Yes, well, there's 6 rectangles. It's 14.8 metres high, and the first 4 are ultramarine, and then it merges into cerulean. But when you're looking at it, you can see it's changing colour, but you're not sure if it's the paint or the light. So it's got this nice
That's right.
sort of thing. The work was done on a table here, and I ordered the stencils from Sydney, so they were stenciled on. And it was like a screen printing process in a way, although we used a brush, I used a brush. So the process was quite interesting, and then because the material came on 50-metre roll, we just kept rolling it out on the floor as the rectangles were done. It was actually quite a nice floor, it's true.
Right. So I'm very interested in the way that people who are primarily painters move into space, the way you're doing, into site-specific work, and also that whole notion of expanded painting, which is partly what you're doing, isn't it? And that relationship between space and painting, you still keep the connection to painting, but expanding into space.
Yeah, it's almost three-dimensional painting, but there's no three-dimension here, in fact. But it's the spatial aspect of it. Yeah, and that's a challenge, really, I think, with painters. If you're a more sculptural person, you're used to dealing with space, but we're used to dealing with flat on the wall. And so for me it's a lot more challenging to deal with spatial aspects. I like it a lot. Especially scale, because in Sydney we don't get this opportunity to work with such a big scale. And I was so excited to be here.
That's right. Well, there's lots of flat space in Australia, so the black squares might work on the ground. And I suppose the other thing is the plastic that you've got. You could maybe talk about that, because that's got an interesting sort of grid and industrial sort of quality about it.
It was bought in Paris and taken over here to Poland. It's an industrial material, and it's plastic with an embedded grid in it, a plastic grid in it. I think it's probably used for some, covering for agriculture, or I don't know, it's quite quite strong. But I like the grid of it. I think the grid is, so contemporary and modern. It just gives it that extra edge, and also it's got a bit more solidity to the material, and it hangs very, very nicely because of that embedded grid pattern in it. It's also on one side through its manufacture. It just comes automatically with two stripes. We can't see it here, but it's just to the side. The material is 1.5 meters wide. And in the process, it has two green stripes down one edge, which are rather nice as well. You can't find this material in Sydney, which is beautiful.
Right.
I have to come to Paris whenever I want to.
Yes, you want to buy it, despite the internet. And I suppose the last question must be, would you like to continue working in a site-specific way, or have you worked site-specifically before?
Yes, I do quite a lot of work site-specifically, especially dealing with light and transparency. And this is another reason why I chose this particular site in the whole area, because it's got this wonderful light coming through behind. And also the choice of the paint, ultramarine, is naturally a transparent medium anyway. So the work is a lot about light and transparency, as well as grid and space, two-dimensionality, three-dimensionality. So it's sort of got multiple things. But overall, when you come in that door, it's like you can see it, and it takes you straight up to the roof, because it goes right up to the top. And so it directs your gaze to the roof instead of staying, at our own height. So from that aspect too, I like people to see something different about the space and try to direct them somewhere else. So from that aspect, I'm really happy with it as well.
That's great, yes. Those blue shapes just look like a little bit like they're floating.
Yes,
strangely
they are like
do.
Floating rectangles.
Yes.
Especially from way back, where you can't actually see the grid. You can only see the grid as you get closer.
And they have this curve on them because the plastic has a slight curve. So they're shape. They have a shape that's slightly
Plastic hangs
curved.
with a little bit of a curve on the edge, and then if there's a breeze, it just moves a little bit, which is quite nice.
Lovely.
Not a fixed. It's quite soft.
Yes.
Stairway to heaven. I don't know.
Stairway to the roof.
Stairway to the roof.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Pam. That was very interesting.
Thanks, Mark.